Welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of E3 2019. We are deep in the thick of the show. I'm Mike Mahardy here with Michael Hyam.
What up?
I'm also here with Joe.
Hello.
And another Mike.
That's right.
Yeah, probably our sixth today, including
myself. It's not going to get confusing at all, I'm sure.
You can't tell by the shirts, they're from Rare, working on Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
A game that at this point launched how long ago?
A year and a bit.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Last time we hung out, it was right before launch.
Yes.
Or, I mean, the E3 before launch.
Yes.
Right.
So 2017.
Yeah, the game's come a long way.
It has indeed.
I mean, we were talking, how many months ago was it all of a sudden it just like blew up the Twitch
that
charts?
was December and kind of January and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden people are like, Sea of Thieves is like beating like League and everything on Twitch. What's that like? And I mean, we'll get more into the nitty gritty, but what's it like seeing the game kind of evolve into that?
It's like Shreddy Spoils, right? Shreddy Spoils, the update that we dropped in November, that kind of pulled all the elements that we'd added to the game so far, along with some new ones, and just kind of put the bow on everything that we've added. And I think just with that sense of timing, it really kind of blew up, right? And we saw lots of streamers come in, it drive a lot of interest in Sea of Thieves. And I guess the great thing about our game is that some of the choices we've made around our progression system and the way there's no vertical progression in the game, that people can kind of join at any point and not feel like they're left behind, but take advantage of all the great content that we've added since launch, and like, that's what we continue to do to this point, right?
Yeah, but I think as a team and at the studio, it's a bit surreal, isn't it?
It's
like when it just, because it's this organic thing that happens, right? You release an update, and it just so happens that like one big streamer comes in, and then you kind of get this influx, and you know, to have like Ninja playing, kind of like just coming in and playing. We heard a rumor that he might be coming and stuff, because like sort of like someone reached out to us for codes, because obviously it's a very expensive game, isn't it? But then you know, to have just people kind of coming in and playing and watching them for the first time, experience it and see how they play and learn. It was incredible. And for the whole studio, you're just like
magic.
You're like on this crest of a wave, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like and then that drives like the actual player base and just like grew. So between like before Shrouded Spoils launched and then like a month later, our monthly active user base doubled. So literally like you know, we had this incredible spike. And then we've kind of just ridden that all the way through to the anniversary update, which we released after the anniversary, because, you know, that's what you do with anniversary updates. Right? But,
yeah, tell us like about what like you're really pushing at the show. That like, what's the newest things people from like Sea of Thieves can be playing?
Yeah, I mean, like the two biggest components of what we released anniversary, like what, little over a month ago?
Yeah.
Like was Tall Tales and Arena. I mean, they're the kind of the big features that we've added. And like last year, like we you know, we've learned so much. We tried like a bunch of kind of like different ways to like surface content, and one of those was experimenting with lore in the game. Like we introduced like little stories as part of Hungry and Deep, and we built on that with Curse Sales, and it really resonated with the players. The idea of not just turning on a feature as like part of a bunch of patch notes, actually celebrating it in the game as a moment of time with characters and that little bit of a story. And we loved the idea and the ambition of trying to deliver more story and more narrative in the Sea of Thieves world, but still having it in that shared world. You know, you're feeling all the feelings that you feel when you play like a traditional story experience, like you're feeling the highs and the lows, and you know, you feel you're on this adventure, but you're sharing it with your friends, but you're still in a world where the storm can roll in, you can still come across a kraken. So like it's kind of complements this idea of players creating stories together. You can have this adventure on demand, and kind of the counterpoint to that is Arena, which is kind of the other big area, which is giving you that competitive experience on demand. You can come in, you can have a great Sea of Thieves experience in 24 minutes, you know, have all the highs and lows of strategizing, of getting into ship combat, of going after treasure, like very different experiences, but complementary to like the core kind of game of Sea of Thieves. And then the other big thing is like something nobody asked for, which was fishing, right? I mean, nobody wanted
fishing. No one ever wants fishing in a game where there's all this water and boats. Like, yeah, why would you want that?
I don't know, but we added it anyway. And
exactly.
Now, joking aside, like so proud of the team's work on fishing. It feels like this really immersive mechanic, you know, all the feedback's on the rod and on the line. There's all fish around the world, different rarities. You can find bait in the world and find these kind of rare catches and progress with a new trading company, kind of new progression options for whether you're a pirate legend or whether you're a new player. So like really feels like a paradigm shift for Sea of Thieves, and like we've taken the opportunity to come to E3 to like get the word out there of like all this new content you can come and experience in Sea of Thieves today. You know, the game's in Game Pass, come in, try Sea of Thieves, and like, we really hope you can fall in love with it. Like so many of our awesome fans.
Yeah, and at this E3, we like on Monday, we did our first kind of invitational stream where we invited a bunch of streamers on Mixer to come and play the arena kind of at the show here. So we picked captains, and they all got to kind of pick their crews. And we had a crew, didn't we, where I was the captain, and I got to pick streamers from the Sea of Thieves community, and I may have picked some quite good ones that were really good at Sea of Thieves and really good at Arena. And who won? I can't remember.
I think it was you, wasn't it, Joe?
I think it was me, wasn't it? I know, you know.
You won at your own game.
I did win at my own game, and I'm really proud of it.
Got a trophy for you in the group.
Yeah. But yeah, the hubris trophy, I think they call it. But yeah, but honestly, it was so intense. Like and it's the first time we've done this kind of invitational kind of tournament thing. And so, you know, we launched Sea of Thieves, like I said, over a year ago, and that for the last year it's been adventure, right? Which is where, you know, just this free-form, emergent world, and we've grown it and we've evolved it, and it's now this really rich experience with the tall tales and stuff like you talk about. But it feels like Arena's at the start of that kind of journey, right? And so, like, we've got it out there, we've been testing it, we've been getting feedback, and what we know is that when you have really competitive crews going up against each other, it is super intense and it just works, right? And I think the same applies to, you know, it's just like if you're matched with people of the right skills, which is what a tournament kind of thing can bring together, it's like nothing else. Yeah. And so, but in the live game at the moment, like, we know that there's improvements we can make around how we match people together, because there's no kind of matching, you just get thrown in with others, and if that's unbalanced, it's not satisfying when you win, and it's frustrating when you lose. So that's like, but tournaments show that when it's balanced, it's amazing. So we need to go kind of address that in the live game and make it as strong as possible. Yeah. But to have kind of tested out this invitational here, and it was really successful. Everyone at home, you know, was watching it and loving it. And so, as we look to the future and we look to different shows and different things, that is going to be a big thing that we want to go and push after and kind of go after, right? And give streamers and members of our community a chance to qualify for these kind of things and really try and grow this competitive kind of Sea of Thieves mode and experience alongside adventure as we keep growing them, because we've got the two platforms, and it's now just kind of grow them in tandem, and you have to learn a new set of skills as a developer, right, to kind of take your mind out of the emergent thing and make it competitive, but still have emergence and surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, that's been so great about our insider program, like testing Arena, like things like cursed cannonballs and skeletons. You'd think they'd work perfectly in Arena because it's all about getting all these dynamic elements in there, but like, we've quickly realized that, you know, that's going to unbalance that kind of fair playing field of being out there and having this high intensity kind of competitive experience. So like, that's what's been great about our insider program, right, to test some of these features.
Yeah, it is. And our insiders, our community, are so passionate, and you know, so some of the feedback around Arena is, can we have the different size ships in there? So that's something we're working on at the moment at the studio. And again, we'll put that out and we'll test it and we'll balance it with that insider community, so that when we get it out to everybody else, it's already the right balance. We've already learned kind of any issues with it and stuff, because probably for the first 6 months of the game, we were just releasing stuff straight to our community, and sometimes we got it wrong, or we miscommunicated around a thing, or there were bugs, and but we've learned and grown, and we're much smoother in terms of how we update the game and how we communicate, and it really feels like we've hit our stride, you know?
Yeah. Did you have something like competitive ship combat in mind when you first made Sea of Thieves, or is that something that organically rose out of what it was?
Originally it was like they're titled internally the Sea of Blood, basically.
Gotcha.
But that felt a little bit too
a little bit aggro, didn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
The art style.
But I think the idea of like the way the ship mechanics worked on Sea of Thieves, where it's not only about your mastery of the controller and your skills, it's about how you use those soft skills to strategize and how you communicate and assign roles dynamically. That really makes a difference between kind of like average crews and fantastic crews. That's why things like the Invitational and those competitive events where every crew knows what they're doing, they've got their own code words and they're strategizing effectively. That's always been fun, right? I mean, it's the basis for, like, when we bought Sea of Thieves to E3 before, like, it's essentially like what we've got with Arena, right? Like, having this great kind of condensed 24-minute experience where every crew kind of like knows what they're doing and they're strategizing together. So yeah, I mean, it's a game of like as fun to watch as it is to play.
Yeah, well, that was kind of it, right? That we kind of prototyped the Arena by doing E3 playable before we launched, because it was how do we do a 15 to 30 minute play session experience for the show floor? Because in adventure, you're out there for an hour, 2 hours, right? Just exploring. So it was like, okay, we'll shrink the world in, we'll bring the islands closer together, we'll put ships closer together, and then we'll just kind of put them into the world and see what happens. And so what we played those first couple of years was kind of what the arena is now, and we had to create custom builds and things. Whereas for this E3, we just bring the arena because it's like, it's 24 minutes and it's perfectly suited for the show floor, right? So we've always had that in mind, but it's. I think we've got so many plans and so many ideas, and it's about when's the right time to bring them in, right? Like for pretty much everything, because the amount of questions you get about would you put this in, or does this make sense? Ideas basically fit broadly into that makes sense for Sea of Thieves, we'll hit that eventually, or it doesn't make sense for our experience. And most things that you can think of do make sense, right? Because it's a pirate game, and your imagination, like fishing, makes sense, right? And ship damage that you're seeing there makes sense. And so it's just like, how far can we go? How big can we go? And I think we've. Like recently, we just went past 8.4 million players that have played Sea of Thieves so far, which for a new IP, right, like is incredible, right? In just over a year, and since Anniversary, which launched kind of at just like the end of April, so start of May, we've had over 2 million players play the game alone in that time. So, and kind of the month of May was our third highest month in terms of player numbers since launch. So launch month was the highest, then the second was the second month. And so this was the third highest, and we're like 15 months after launch. It's like, we are, in a lot of ways as a service, we're only just beginning. Like we've got a slide back, like as part of our kind of future strategy plans and stuff like the thing, looking at all the games that are out there as services, and you've got World of Warcraft with like the amount of years that's been out, and like then League of Legends, all these things that have been out there for ages, and then at the bottom you've kind of just got us, because we use it just to demonstrate that we've been out a year, but we are literally just at the start of where we can take this, and to be having the success that we've had recently, to have the kind of the platform now to grow, and for us honestly to be much better at how we deliver and how we grow, and like having learned everything we've learned over the last year, I think the only way is up, and it's the sky is the limit, right? Indeed. As far as we see it.
Lots of exciting plans for year two. You think the biggest line of learning from last year, like we built loads of great content on megalodons and skeleton ships, a new region to explore, all the kind of updates that we had in Shrouded Spores. Now with Tall Tales and Arena, 2 platforms to continue to grow the game with. I think one of the biggest things we learned from last year is just around the predictability of updates. I think getting into that kind of predictable rhythm, so where players know when to get excited. If you want to go play another game, when can I come back to Sea of Thieves? It's not just, when they get an update, they play it, it has some great content in there, and then if like, we'd be crafting the next thing and we wouldn't be able to tell when it's going to come next, but getting into that predictable rhythm for year two. Lots of exciting plans, and looking forward to sharing what's coming next soon, right? We're not jealous, are we? Like, we're not the jealous types. Like, if our players want to go and play another game for a while, it's absolutely fine. But they should know when to come back. And so, but for the last year, honestly, the fact is that we were sporadic in terms of what we were doing and when, and how big were the updates and what was in them and everything, because it was all about just grow the game. And now, how do we like literally we did an all hands meeting last week talking to the team about pretty much the same stuff we're talking about here, which is like, here's what we've done, here's what we've learned, here's the success we've had, and now, from a player-facing perspective, let's get regularity, so there's a cadence and people know when to look forward to the next thing, and so there's always a regular stuff of things to do, new voyages, new kind of combinations and rewards, new cosmetics to earn, and then we'll also add in, like alongside that, when it's ready, like new Tall Tales and new features and new stuff for Arena, because we have to balance being player kind of focused and first and having that regular cadence, but also sustainability for the team, because for the last year or so, we've been going hard at it, right? And even before that, prior to launch, it was just, we launched the game, and normally when it's not a service, you have that time to chill and relax and kind of just bask in the glory of, unadulterated success. But then, on every game, it always happens.
Sea of Thieves, as opposed to like less work after launch, it's almost like you guys had more.
Yeah, we did. We grew the team. Like, we invested more kind of into in the last year than we almost did before, because we had this success at launch, and it was like, okay, we're all in, right? And but we've been going at a pace that isn't sustainable, and the team has done an amazing job. But we have, these are the 2 kind of pillars of our plans going forward. It's cadence and regularity for players, but it's also making it so that there's flexibility in the plans as to when some things land. As long as stuff's always going out to players and we've got the regularity, it doesn't matter like as much. Like when like the bigger, more riskier things land from a development perspective, like we give ourselves that time. So that's our commitment to our players and it's a commitment to our team because we have to do both. Right?
What makes it unsustainable?
What's that?
What makes the current model unsustainable? Are you just working too much?
It's just like you know, we put a lot of stuff into Anniversary. Like, it's the biggest update we've ever done. All of the different bits. Like, it's a completely new mode in Arena, a completely new way to play in Tall Tales, and plus the harpoon, the fishing, like all of those features. And so, like, to do new things, like, they're the most unpredictable because you're iterating, you're prototyping. It's hard to pick a date when it's going to land. But we wanted to create this moment in time with Anniversary to kind of pull it together, to kind of get everybody to kind of look back at Sea of Thieves and go, oh wow, that's the kind of, that is Sea of Thieves 2.0, right? And we wanted to bring competition and shorter session options in with Arena and this narrative stuff, but both by doing the new things and doing Tall Tales for the first time, now we have the platform to go and do more Tall Tales, and we know how long they take. We didn't know how long they took to make before, right? So we're in a much better position to plan and build more of that stuff. But when you're doing all this new stuff, bringing it all in together at the same time to a specific date, like, it's really hard to get that right. And one of the things that we didn't deliver for Anniversary that we planned was pets, and ultimately we were planning to bring in kind of in-game monetization with the Anniversary update. So a year after launch, we haven't had any kind of additional revenue being generated apart from the kind of sales, and we were always open and we were going to do it, and we were going to bring pets in, but they didn't quite reach the bar that we set ourselves, and we didn't want to force them in, and we didn't want to kind of go to that team. You know what? You've just got to deliver them. Like we've made a commitment to our players. We've got to get them in. So we sat down.
You don't want to compromise. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to compromise on that kind of vision. Like with pets as well. We want them to feel like they're part of Sea of Thieves. They've got that kind of Sea of Thieves different eyes, that Sea of Thieves magic, that opportunity for humour and surprise. If you've got that little pet sidekick with you, you want that to have the social value on the crew. Like, it not just be a cosmetic. It's got to have that Sea of Thieves, that touch, that Sea of Thieves magic, and that's what we're trying to nail, right?
Yeah, and so but the point is that we made a decision not to put those in because of that. But it's bringing loads of things together at one time is hard, and especially if they're all new. And so we don't want to do that again. We don't want to have an Anniversary update in a year's time. We want to get into a more predictable, regular cadence because I think our players will enjoy that. But there will always be surprise and delight along the way with the things that we're doing and when stuff comes. But it has to be a way that we can run as a team, and we can find the time to not only deliver awesome stuff for our players, but we can find the time to make sure people get training and they can go and do presentations and talks, and that all of the stuff where you're growing humans and kind of like just running a successful business and pleasing your players, but also growing your team and being respectful of the fact that, like, we're all humans and we're working on this, and it has to feel like a normal day-to-day business and not just this relentless kind of drive.
It must be so hard in the specifics of how much feedback do we take from everybody, but like if you listen to too much, it stops being your game. But then also, if you don't listen to them at all, you're gonna get in a bubble. I imagine that must be a super tricky balance.
It is and it isn't, because
no, I think like we've got our own kind of principles of like what makes Sea of Thieves, and it's not to say. I mean, some of the ideas are like, just put that in the game. That is a perfect idea for for Sea of Thieves. But like, it's not to say some ideas are bad. It's just they don't fit in Sea of Thieves, or they compromise some of their design principles, or it would lead to exploits, or it would lead to certain things being overpowered. So I think taking feedback from our fans around what is important right now, like. The game is always evolving. The way features interact in that shared world is always changing because we're always adding kind of new ingredients, and how those ingredients interact kind of sets the tone for the world, how aggressive players are being, how much they're working together, like what trading companies they interact with the most, where are players feeling like there's too much of a grind, they're not progressing fast enough. Like, it's the beauty of having a live audience, right? Like, you've got a passionate bunch of developers, we all love our game, trying to grow it and evolve it, but we've got real players out there playing our game and experimenting with things in different ways, and you've constantly got to look at that. You've constantly got to see where are the pain points, where can we make quality of life improvements. Is it right to bring fishing in now? Is it right to bring things like Tall Tales in now? Like, where should we invest our time to make Sea of Thieves better today? And that's always going to change, and that's why you've got to work closely with our players.
Yeah, and it's because you're right, it's feedback, but it's also data, and it's like combining the two, and our intuition, right?
Exactly.
Sifting through both of them.
Yeah, and looking at it's kind of like sometimes it's trying to solve a crime, isn't it? Pick your way through a crime scene.
They're just
pick the right, like, for want of a better analogy, but to kind of find the right bits of evidence.
Scene,
yeah. But like, No, I can't take it.
No.
The metaphor died on
like
arrival.
CSI Twycross. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Twycross is
CSI
very-
Twycross. Yeah.
CSI Twycross.
Yeah.
No, but like it's just a bunch of inputs, right? Like if a bunch of our players are being really vocal about a particular area, it doesn't necessarily mean they mean that very specific thing. It might mean that it's actually the result of a cause over here. So you've got to kind of build up that picture using data, using sentiment on social media, using feedback on our forums, and kind of piece together the picture of what are the main issues, what content is really going to please their players at that one point. But at the same time, it's not just about, like Joe said it there when he mentioned kind of intuition, it's not just about giving people exactly what they want, because there's that part of it, but you also want to surprise players. We want to put something into the game and go, oh, I never would have thought of that. Like, for example, like ideas around, I really want to have a wheelbarrow in Sea of Thieves, because I can put all my quest items inside and take it back. And like our version of that is like the collector's chest, right? Like really specific example of like having a chest in the game that you can open to Pirate World. It makes perfect sense, but you can put your stuff inside and you can close the lid and you can carry it around. Like we always try and surprise our players, and that seems like a really simple mechanic, but you put that in our shared world and it's a tool. It's a tool that they can use and like surprise players with, like use it to like bait people out down to an island. They open it, there's nothing inside, and people pop out the bushes and take them down. Like all these ways that we can surprise our players, we always try and do that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, unfortunately we're out of time, but again, congrats on all the sudden like comeback you've been having this year, and between streaming and players you've been buying the game and playing it, and good luck with the future, and also like congrats on the recent updates.
Yeah.
And enjoy the rest of the show. Get some rest. If you're watching from home, this was Joe and Mike from Rare, and we are going to be back momentarily, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you then.